Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dewatch podcast. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G, and we're back here on literature season.
That's right, and we've done a bit of a switcheroo because there was no content reason why we structured Burning Chrome before Blindsight. I just wanted Jim to have enough time to finish it. And Jim, what have you done in the intervening week?
I've taken care of a very drugged up cat, which, strangely enough, links a lot to the book we've read today, Blindsight.
Yeah, because Jim already read Blindsight. We're doing Burning Chrome next week instead.
Yeah, so I was entirely gonna be entirely honest. I was just gonna keep that under the wraps. I was gonna assume we were gonna put these in the other order, that we recorded this one first, Burning Chrome second.
Oh no, I mean I think that would make it difficult.
That's fair.
And no, we already announced it. I don't think the only time we've released episodes out of order is when the extremely depressing space butterfly one would have been like the week of Christmas.
Don't do space butterflies on Christmas. It really brings the mood down. But yeah, we read Blindsight, which actually I read it on Kindle, which I think we both read it on Kindle, so I don't actually know how long it is in real pages.
Yeah, no, I think it's like 300 pages. Also, to be clear, all my Kindles are jailbroken. I'm a good man.
I don't have opinions on the morality of breaking people out of jail or Kindles.
Good and bad.
Alright, well, there you go. And we'll see you guys next week.
Anyway, you can read non-Kindle books on a Kindle. It's fine.
So the point is Blindsight. Now we've had like a slight touch of discussion about this, and I think one of the important things is Blindsight. It's very dense. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I think we're gonna try to get at this with some brevity. So, yes, no first.
Yeah, no.
You should read Blindsight. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, like it might be, no, recency bias here, but it might be my favorite book. At point of speaking, it is my favorite book.
I mean, it's a very good sci-fi. I mean, it doesn't quite hold up to the novelizations of Star Wars, but it's close.
I do hear the expanded universe does have some genuinely phenomenal stuff.
There is the part where Anakin Skywalker invents the term transgender, but which I always bring up. But yeah, it's very good.
Yeah,
but
there are a number of content warnings. So if you do need some content warnings before going I can delve into this book or episode.
This might be genuinely the hardest section of content warnings we've ever done for the show.
Yeah, to be fair, it is a whole book of content warnings as opposed to an hour of TV, but
it also gets real freaky with it.
Yeah, so just to start with, there's just a lot of mature and heavy themes. This is a heavy book. This is a heavy, hard sci-fi book.
Now, knocking out some very quick, concrete ones, we put in sexual content, gore, and torture as these are the simple ones. And I want to say parental neglect and abuse are also in the simple front.
Yeah.
Remaining beyond that is just so we put down body horror, existential horror, and mental modification, because there is just broadly a lot of screwing around with biology and psychology.
Yeah, no, the body and the mind are given no sanctity by the people in this novel.
You will not feel fully in control of yourselves having read through this book.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're gonna land on that. We don't know how to do this better. We think we did an okay job.
We might add more content warnings as we go through the episode, but we think we've caught the big stuff.
Yeah, that's...
And we're not certain by any means.
I think that's pretty good. So...
and just to flag, it's a really fun read to, read blind.
Nice.
So if you just want to put this episode on hold for a week while you get the free book, this book is free on the internet because Peter Watts had a had a falling out with his
Yes.
publisher who he thought wasn't marketing it enough. And lo and behold, it did really well once he put it free on the internet.
I like that, like, us too, as far as like some of our most liked works of media have histories of like the creators fighting with their publishers and then going, you should just pirate it. You should just get it for free.
Which other one are you thinking of?
Disco Elysium.
Oh,
It's strange.
yeah, no, that one's really sad.
So, Blindsight. I feel like we gotta do the plot breakdown here in 2 steps, right? Like, just establishing the baseline of where we're at. This is a hard sci-fi novel, and then like a brief overview of what is going on, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in the future. I want to say we're like 2080-ish. The very important point here is that like humanity has become kind of obsolete in our natural biological forms. Transhumanism is broadly like the way humans catch up in a way.
Like we've broadly, like every like science that is like current, like every question that you can think of in like current science, like we've kind of worked out. And one very major part of that is that like the human body has ceased, like the human brain has ceased to be a mystery. Like it is like quite transparent now.
Yeah, and so is a lot of our like base, like in particular like the neurological aspects of our body are just like completely modifiable. On top of that, we have vampires.
Yeah.
Which
Which we like sort of found like buried in the deep genes as like an ancient like Paleolithic predator that we were like, oh, we could bring these back, and then we did.
it's a subspecies of humans. They are predators. They've been revived. They are much smarter than us, and like
Oh yeah.
I think more just like physically capable as well is the implication.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specifics, but there's that, and also they can't cope with right angles. 90 degrees angles kills them basically.
They have the crucifix glitch.
Yes. Which is there's a lot of very cute stuff here.
Yeah.
So that's like biological point 2. Biological point 3, or rather like on the status of like transhumanism stuff. A certain percentage of humanity has just fucked off to like VR, right?
Yeah.
Like in what is literally called heaven, they are no longer interacting with the human world in any like real frequent sense. They're just hanging out. And then I guess the last step here is that like AI has become very good. This is sort of like a background point in the novel until a certain point at least. But it's all very advanced. But like if you're just like a normal human in a normal human body, you suck.
Yeah. Like humans are like in absolutely no way, shape, or form the like smartest or arguably even dominant like life form on the planet.
Like I don't think we meet a single unmodified human in the story.
There might be the childhood friend.
But I think even he mentions he got something in adulthood.
Yeah.
So like it is very much we are past the point of just like human bodies being programmed by genetics. Importantly, sex is no longer a thing people do. You're considered weird if you do it physically.
Yeah, no, like a weird nerd. Like
also true in real life. I don't know where I wanted to go with that one, but I saw an opportunity and I'm going for it.
Are we gonna pivot to being an incel podcast?
I think we could make it work.
Now, speaking of, you mentioned to me that the protagonist of this novel, who is named Siri Keaton, and a guy, has incel vibes. I didn't think we would go there immediately, but why not? Now that we have the setup.
So our protagonist, we are introduced to him having like his background, if I remember correctly, is he had like a case of like really severe epilepsy, and so they removed half his brain.
Yeah, and they put like a machine there instead.
So I'm sure we'll get into this once we get into analysis. He's very frequently described as like having autistic sense or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It's This
This
was written in
doesn't
2006, I
Yeah,
think.
this doesn't quite rise to the point of like downright ableism because it's not used with malice, but
It's also just kind of funny.
you will encounter the noun autistics as in a plural of the singular autistic noun quite a lot in this novel.
Which is like, you're standing on real fucking shaky ground when you're a hard sci-fi author, you know? Now, the Star Wars novelizations, full neurotypical.
That's right.
But the point is, he is. So I think the term is synesthetist?
Synthesist, I think.
Synthesist, yeah.
I think.
His job is to sort of like simplify complicated concepts.
Yeah, he is basically uh like the person who like connects other people by like conveying what they're about to each other.
Yeah, because everything has gotten so specialized in this like extremely complicated world that there just needs to be a bridge like that. And that he's apparently very good at his job due to half of his brain being missing. And that is why he is selected for the crew of the ship Theseus.
Yes.
Because we have discovered some sort of alien intelligence question mark.
I think first of all, it's not that humans have discovered the aliens, it's that the aliens have discovered humans.
That is true. They have an essentially worldwide photographed,
Yeah.
and they've detected this strange being question mark at the like edge of or like even outside of the solar system, I think.
Well, it's very big.
It's very big.
Yeah.
And so a small crew, including our dear protagonist, is sent out, which includes a vampire, as well as like a lady who's had her mind divided into 4 pieces in order to like.
Is it just 4?
Because it's what is it? It's Susan James. No, I'm not gonna remember the names.
Yeah.
But I think it's 4.
Maybe.
But yeah, then a biologist who's like removed a lot of his sort of like feeling to be. To be honest, I don't remember.
He's got like a lot of like beyond sensory organs.
Yeah. We have a fairly normal-ish military lady.
Yeah, who is like a war hero for using empathy as a weapon, but like in not necessarily in like a condemnable way. Like the way
Yeah.
she is described, like she is the most like straightforwardly like quite decent person on this group who is like sort of aligns with probably the reader's like moral imagination, and her other deal is that she just like controls like a fucking squadron of robots.
Yeah. And then we have the vampire who's weird and creepy. And that's the crew.
Who's like the boss. The vampire is in charge of the operation.
Yeah. And I want to say after this, like they encounter this alien, and I think just broadly here we can mention that a lot of different discoveries are made about this alien. This is the bulk of the book.
Yes.
It's this massive mass. They go in eventually, like they try to communicate, try to figure out how it communicates, how it thinks, its constituent parts, like the level of intelligence. It's broad. And it's the bulk of this book, and I don't think we really need to go into a blow by blow.
No.
But the point is, like, the feeling overall you get is that, like, as you go along, this creature becomes more and more alien.
Yeah, and it becomes harder to, like, make sense of. Because to go through, like, the major beats, like, the first discovery of it is that, like, oh yeah, no, it's just, like, talking to them on the radio, and then Susan James, the, like, linguist, like, mental system, it just goes, like, after a bit goes like, oh, this isn't talking to us. This is just like
it's a
simulating.
Chinese room.
Yeah, this is simulating language. And after this, like, communication obviously breaks down because they don't think they're talking to anyone.
Yeah.
And start like making some aggressive moves.
Yes, and at what this is also the point where they discover the sort of like little aliens inside.
Yeah.
That as far as they go, like, these are stupid. They're spending all of their neurological like input and output on like moving their starfish bodies. By the way, Peter Watts, marine biologist.
Yeah.
You can tell. In this background at least. And And then later they found out, no, actually they're like insanely smart. They just don't seem to be conscious. Like there does not seem to be sapience here.
Yeah, and that is the that is the major sort of turn of the book. That at some point the penny drops and someone goes like, "Oh no, no. We are dealing with an alien thing here, but it's not it's not conscious in any way that we would think. It's
Yeah.
just like it's a system without consciousness that is nevertheless like probably definitely running circles around all the like mortal humans, and the only thing that is even has a chance of like taking it on is like the sort of like vampire slash ship AI team that is going to go up against it in this like bizarre chess game.
Yeah. I like the sort of like final big thing that the novel talks about is this like idea that like and it's I think it's a bit hard to disentangle how much this is meant to be this is the horror reveal and how much it's
Mm,
meant to be like a tract about real biopsychosocial
mm,
evolution. Because what it finally comes to is like humanity might just straight up be alone in the universe to have developed sapience,
yeah,
aka like consciousness,
yeah,
because it's inefficient.
yeah,
And that's kind of where we leave it on that front. And there's even like there's a scene where the vampire, who's always described as like creepy, predatory, etc., suddenly attacks our protagonist and basically gives a speech on like stop thinking about thinking, you idiot, just do, like,
yeah,
do the smart stuff, you are getting in your own way.
yeah. And this is like the point um of the title, right? The title like is like flagging this like from the get-go, that the book is about like I don't know, like you don't need to know, like if you have like a neurological problem where like you do not have conscious access to what you see anymore, you can still see. Like your body will like react to the world based on visual input because like it's still in the wiring. Um and basically like the book is saying that like this is what Siri Keaton is sort of like almost like built for, right? Because that's like his approach to being a synthesist. He like just sort of like perceives everything and like lets his hindbrain like which is like implied to be like much smarter than like the sort of conscious portion, I guess.
Yeah,
Just like work out what the fuck is happening to like a sufficient degree to like convey like tr- tremendously complex systems like notions to one another.
but very notably, over the because like Sir Keaton is at his core very much on board with this in his conscious thought that like, yeah, I should not get involved, I should just observe
Yeah.
and draw the conclusions. And he does not live up to those words.
Oh yeah.
Like he during the course of the novel, he gets very involved in what's going on the ship, to the point that he eventually like fully projects a belief that like, yeah, this lady, the military lady, she's gonna rebel. And like the vampire ends up going like, she's not. Like you've made this up because you don't like me. And that's fair, but you should acknowledge that. You know?
Yeah.
It's I think it's interesting. I think like that's the kind of the core parts of the book. There are a little bit of like flashbacks to Sarah Keaton's childhood in particular. Like
Yeah.
he has a strange relationship with his parents.
And like more drawn throughout the whole book and sort of intertwined with the childhood strangeness. There is a romance he has with uh, like a bit of a manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah, but a manic pixie dream girl who's like, "Can I poke at your
Yeah,
memories?"
can I wiggle your brain meat? I think I could fix you by wiggling your brain into being like better.
She
Um
can fix him, in parentheses, bad.
yeah, no, and like this is probably like where the like I don't think I've like fully like uh parsed this arc of the book, I'll be honest. But like what is happening function or factually is just that he is um he's just like having like a genuinely like lovely romantic relationship, and he keeps going like, oh yeah, no, but obviously like that's just what my brain wants.
He keeps self-sabotaging. And I think like this is like one of those things that is actually very tightly tied in with the like whole idea of like consciousness, right?
Mm,
So let's properly get into that, because the idea that the book poses is that idea that like consciousness is a necessary layer over the top of actual good processes.
yeah.
Now, I think immediately, philosophically, this is nonsense. Because you have to have consciousness to determine what is good.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like just on an axiomatic level.
well, I think the way to perhaps better phrase it is like basically the book is just like positing like, wouldn't it be like crazy if like consciousness were like not an adaptive trait whatsoever?
Right. And that is a different point. Like I think, but the thing is, I think the way it ties into it, like for example, the romance subplot and stuff like that, does give some, if not definitive, at least some implied moral character to the idea that like, don't overthink.
Yeah,
By overthinking, I mean thinking at all.
yeah,
Just do. Um, but yeah, like if we start on the moral level, right? Like, you just have systems. If you took away consciousness, you
yeah,
just have systems. So I don't think that is a particularly rich ground. Now, I think consciousness is notoriously hard to define,
yeah,
hard to make anything out of. I think it's an interesting point, but I think there's also very simple counter arguments because consciousness helps us plan, it helps us conceptualize. There are clearly biologically adaptive traits here. Now, you could make arguments about whether it's worth the trade off.
yeah. Basically, like there is, I think at some point, I think in the afterword, Peter Watzko is like I do actually like think this is an idea seriously worth entertaining because like he is saying like I can think of nothing a conscious system can do that like a non-conscious system couldn't do better. And um like the sort of like fundamental counter argument to that is just like um or rather like the this is like one of those things where you have to like understand what is happening in a sci-fi book. This is also a big problem with the Three Body Problem trilogy,
I have
where
not
like,
read that.
don't worry, it's a very general problem because people will read these sci-fi books and then like just go like, I'm going to like build a new worldview out of this book, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to adapt this book into like the core of my beliefs. When what the book is actually doing is doing like some really like is just like taking some big conjectures about like what is the shape of the like factual world and going like, wouldn't this be weird? When in actual fact, like those conjectures are things that are like interesting to think about and cool for the narrative, but not like factually accurate, right? Like Peter Watts in writing and conveying this idea, and like, yeah, he is like seriously entertaining it, but like to take this idea like fully on its own terms, you need to like accept like the sort of implied definition of consciousness
Yeah.
because like and the problem with that is like, well, it's not a problem for reading the book, but like the problem with adapting that into an actual belief system is just like we don't know what consciousness is like in any meaningful sense.
It is also just the fact that like, so if we do it a bit more on vibes,
Yeah,
right? Like the idea is that like we have let's talk about consciousness as a sliding scale, right?
yeah,
Like, okay, let's completely anthropocentrically say we are conscious, we are self-aware,
yeah,
which is like part of that definition. Um, let's then extend that, like we have noted that like, corvids, various like apes,
mm,
etc., like a bunch of like what we would consider fairly highly intelligent species also have some degree of self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
We have noticed these groups are the ones who are better at planning.
Mm.
Like better at, because like the one thing we can say about consciousness is that you're self-aware and you can think about your own like metacognitive processes, or rather
Yeah.
just like having metacognitive processes in the first place. You can imagine scenarios, right? And here's the thing, I am certain that a marine biologist, aka a certified freak, such as
Oh
Peter
yeah.
Watts, could create a biological system, but like could that might have the ability to plan in some way that might measure up to a conscious system, but could it evolve? Right? Like there's a fundamental question here of like what are the pathways to get there?
Yeah, no, and like to take like the like real world question very seriously for a moment, like I think I've like spoken about like my conception of what I think like free will is, and
Yeah.
it's in my opinion it is more or less the experience of like coming to like decisions that feel as being your own. And I think that's very tied to like
Mm.
the what I think is probably like the most like descriptively accurate way to think of consciousness, which is just like basically like the experience of like trying to figure out like basically like it is those are the same thing. Like consciousness is like the an experience, and free will is sort of like what you do as part of that experience, like the sort of act that comes out of that experience. And like none of these things actually needs to be like quote unquote real, right? Like these can just be things that are like um sort of like very strange abstractions that arise on top of like actual computational processes that like the neurons are doing, because like to some degree like that just has to be what's happening. um
Mm.
because like we're materialists here. We do
Yeah.
not think that
We are pretty
we have a
hardcore.
soul that is like abstract, because again that's just like pushing the problem of where does the soul come from.
Well,
You still have the question.
I think maybe some people who are not podcasters have souls.
That's right. But yeah, no, like if you so like if you say take that angle, like this question like sort of resolves itself, because consciousness um like is not necessarily something which like has to be actually tied to the like agency we experience,
Mm.
right? Like you can conceptualize this question in ways that resolve it. But like Peter Watts just goes like, nah, nah. I think consciousness is like a quite concrete thing, and like the sort of like conception of the self like is like very substantively real, and like I am not convinced it is like it's a strong evolutionary move.
Yeah, I think it's like it's one of those things that is like fundamentally very interesting to talk about, but like I think treating it as like a definitive argument, I don't think that
Yeah.
goes very far
Yeah, no,
fundamentally.
absolutely not, because it's relying on a lot of conjecture. Like this is just I've thought about this, and like the actual argument, or rather like the idea this book makes, is like a tier of like stoner thought, right? That is like unbelievably good, right? This is the best stoner thought anyone has ever had. But like it is just like presupposing so much that like you can't put this in like a fucking scientific paper, because it's relying on too much like conjecture. But it's
Yeah.
like really fucking cool.
Like it's fascinating to speculate about, but like I just like consciousness is one of those areas that like I think we know so little about
Yeah.
and have such poor definitions of that like making definitive arguments about whether it is good or bad for like evolutionary purposes is nonsense until we can define it in any sort of like meaningful way.
But if you're a sci-fi author, that's not your fucking problem.
Exactly, and that's sick. Like genuinely, like
Yeah.
I think that it's thought provoking. Now I wanna get to two like very short like little nitpicks out of the way. Okay,
Hit it.
number one is the less important one, which is like okay, so there's a point in this book where they go something along the lines of like consciousness is like bad for your evolutionary purposes, in part because that means we produce art, and art is inefficient. And I'm like, okay, listen, motherfuckers, STEM lord ass bitch. No, but like actually the issue is that like we have observed play in like
Yeah,
so many species that we do not believe are conscious in the way that like this book would
yeah,
indicate. And then you can say, well, play is good because it's training for hunting. You can make that exact same argument about art
yeah.
as training for your cognitive processes. Okay, that one's out of the way. The other one is that in some parts of the book, in particular when talking about the vampire, I think Vader was implies that sociopaths are not sapient.
Um,
Which, like, I really want to say, that's not what sociopathy is. I have met sociopaths in, like, my clinical work. They are sapient. Like, in fact, in some ways, I think you could argue they might be more sapient than non-sociopaths.
well, actually, I don't know where I remember this from, but I think the actual place where vampires are is quite interesting because Peter Watts positions them, and I forget where he says this. This might be the sequel,
Yeah.
but he does just say like, no, vampires are still sapient, but they're on the way of like evolving away consciousness
Yeah,
again.
I've heard that. But, like, okay, so I should mention, you have also read this with, like, the
Yes.
author's notes, and I have not.
Yes, I don't know if there's a version of Blindsight that has them, but the sequel, Echopraxia, which is a fair amount less focused, um, and relies on Blindsight, while Blindsight doesn't rely on it,
Right.
like does just have like a bunch of footnotes, which is like, hey, here's how like I like took a bunch of like conceptual steps that like being like vampires have like turbo autism to make them like insanely smart. It's
Also,
it's
that's
not
another
that
point.
dumb. It's not that dumb. Like I think he has like invested like serious like thinking into like somewhat connecting those dots, but that is the like rough shape of it.
But yeah, I feel like I should point this out because what's like they do talk about sociopaths, not just
Yeah.
vampires in Blindsight, and kind of imply that like they are at least less sapient, less conscious.
Yeah, I think like Siri Keaton's dad is implied to be a sociopath.
I didn't realize that.
I think I might be getting things mixed up here as well, but there's definitely like a little bit of an angle here. And like Siri Keaton is meant to be like at least self-conceptualizing as a sociopath.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I think that's something I want to talk about next.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like very quickly, sociopaths lack to an extent instinctual empathy. They do not lack metacognitive processes.
Yeah.
In fact, for a lot of sociopaths, metacognitive processes, thinking about what they lack and what they have in terms of like emotional and cognitive processes, is how they like I was about to say evolve, which I should probably be
Yeah.
careful about given the book, is how they get to intellectual empathy.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to point that out
Yeah.
there. I found it a bit strange. Like, I don't think it actually, like, harms anything in the book, but it's like, that's just, like, not what sociopathy is.
I wonder if that's like a 2006 problem or if that's just like a research miss.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, or if it's just meant to be more metaphorical than I'm taking it. But like,
Yeah.
I was reading it, and it's kind of like, I feel like I'm trying to steel man this, but it still sounds like he is saying that sociopaths are like
Yeah.
unaware of what they're doing.
Like he is generally trying to be like writing things that are like not impossible with like the current state of science.
Yeah,
And it might be just genuinely that we understand sociopaths better, or it might just be that he missed something.
maybe.
um Now I will say regarding your first nitpick, like yes, art and play are probably adaptive.
Uh,
Though I guess you can like make a reach that it's maybe not or whatever.
Podcasting, not adaptive. Other
Um
art.
Now this this notion does produce like one of the like funnier like ideas in the book, which is that like a cognitive, since consciousness is not adaptive,
Yeah.
and from that let's say from that follows that art and play are not adaptive, like sending out just like the fucking like radio band of information into space that humanity is sending into space.
It's the declaration of war.
Yeah, it's just like an informational attack by like but it's just like trying to like get people to waste their energy, and that's extremely funny.
I think that is actually like a fucking sick revelation when they're like, oh my god.
We declared war on these people by like we're cosmic spammers.
They got a little bit of a Discord voice call and they're like, there is no solution to this but destruction. Which is fair. But yeah, I like because that's the sort of like high level abstract ideas of consciousness, and like the sort of idea of like maybe it's bad actually and we shouldn't think about it. But I think the more interesting thing is Sarah Keaton's story.
Yeah.
Right? Because Sarah Keaton is again he's described, I don't know if he's specifically described as unautistic, but like I think there's something somewhere
I'm
where
pretty sure Siri Keaton is not explicitly written as autistic.
no,
I
but
think Siri Keaton is written as like a kind of like mentally like unusual that like we needed to have a lot of technology to even produce.
yeah, but I think there's some part of the earlier where it's like, oh, my fucking turbo autistic brain process. I swear there's something, but like, moving on. I think he is really, really interesting
Yeah.
because, as you say, he very much has this self-conceptualization that he is apart from the world and he will only ever analyze it in intellectual terms. Fucking complete and utter lie, right?
Yeah.
Like I think even Peter Watts is like fully like, no, this man is like self-deception on this front fully throughout.
Yeah, no, like Peter Watts, like biologists, along with the have like an interesting connection to the social sciences in that they fucking love thinking about systems.
Yeah.
And like, guess what humans do? We build systems out of ourselves.
Yeah.
So like biologists have like a strange like affinity in that sense. And one thing that is like fucking like understanding and thinking about systems 101 is that like there is no such thing as an isolated system. Like
Yeah.
you cannot observe a system and not be a part of it. And Siri Keaton is like, oh, I think I can though, and Peter Watts is just like taking the entire novel to go like, look at this idiot. Isn't he funny? Isn't it funny? Like, isn't this a comedic amount of hubris? Or I guess like it's more tragic in the end.
Well, Siri Keaton, I think, is like, I think in a weird way, he's like a strangely optimistic take on like hyper intellectualization, right? Like, because like the novel starts with him rescuing his childhood friend. This is after he has had half his brain removed. He's rescuing his childhood friend from a group of bullies and like finding like this actually just like biologically and adaptively makes sense. This isn't morality.
Yeah, no.
As he picks up a rock and starts clobbering children. He's also a child, but you know, it's funnier if I don't mention that. Like it's and like he is such a fascinating character because on some level he is like a caricature of a person who exists today, right?
Yeah.
Like the person who like has some extremely strange self-esteem. You know, like I feel like I've met these people on some level who are like are completely willing to explain away every act of morality or feeling that they engage in, and it's hard to say if they hold themselves above others or below them, right? Like, I think one of the really interesting things is his, like, romance with Chelsea, who is dead by the time, like, the story starts proper.
Yeah, the main narrative, the Chelsea story is told entirely in flashbacks.
Yeah, because, like, every step of the way, he's like, I'm being dragged into this true love. It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. It's just my brain going like, ooh. This is wonderful.
This is where I made the comment that, like, I feel like he's got some incel vibes, because at one point, when he, like, you know, they end up getting into this, like, sexual and romantic relationship, and he's like, I'm gonna make a poem about the origins of sexual reproduction. And I'm like, are you like being a dick towards yourself or to her or to both? I don't understand what you're doing. But like I feel like you cannot read it in a different way than self-sabotage,
Yeah,
right? At
no,
least as an
like
aspect.
this book is in a massive part about someone like experiencing the terrifying ordeal of being known and noping the fuck out.
And like he
And
he has that like running or like dialogue with himself about like it feels really nice to feel like I matter. Anyway, must be my fucking genes.
yeah,
Let me
no.
explain that. Let me fucking like intellectualize that away.
And let me explain to my lover, whom my stupid brain thinks rules, that don't worry, this is just biology. This isn't any of this isn't even real.
Like, because this is like I am as mentioned, I am a very hardcore like materialist in this sense, and I feel like you know I don't think that fucking matters, right? Like, if we go the hardline materialist thing, the thing we know is that we like the things we like.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like, well, it's only biology that made me feel so fulfilled and loved and cared for. Okay, shut the
Yeah,
fuck
no,
up.
like, and I think this is like the beautiful flip side of the like of the what if consciousness is maladaptive argument. Like, it is just like going like, hey, like, maybe sometimes we get in our way and should just like let the fucking hindbrain go like, love.
Yeah, like it's because it's one of those things where it's like despite having this hyper intellectualizing position, what you're doing is saying, fuck this, because it doesn't matter on some like religious spiritual plane. You are engaging in the very like fallacies. You are like, no, I'm too smart for that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
if you're like, it's only like hedonism, then do that.
Yeah, no, like, you cannot observe the system of your own relationship as an impartial outsider.
Like, sit by the fucking love dispenser and be like, sick, you know? Like, just, why do you gotta be so weird about
Yeah,
it?
no, but like Siri Keaton is absolutely fucking incapable of going like of like accepting like good things in a way, right? And
Yeah.
like even in the end, like the story ends very tragically because like Chelsea like gets like basically like clipped by like a like virus that turns you into stone.
Yeah.
Um and like the events of this like and she wants to like talk to him because like at this point they've like kind of broken up, but like she's still like, man, like if he can't just get over himself, like we can get work this out. And he's like, he refuses to take the call and instead he just like tries to just like research something like perfect to say instead of like engaging with the person that like he like. And at this point it's like not even like remotely like subtle that he like deeply loves, but like he's just so afraid of that confrontation that he goes like, ah, I have to just find the perfect thing to say, so I'm going to like research. And then she dies before he like has anything to say, and like of course he can't get there, right?
And to be clear, like, it's not like, oops, I ran out the clock I didn't know existed. He's sitting there watching her die rapidly. And she goes like, I guess you're just not gonna say anything. Goodbye. And she's gone.
Yeah,
Like if Sarah Keaton could have like for one moment acknowledged that he has the capacity to feel, he would have felt a lot better, you
yeah,
know?
no, and like, but like it is like, this is like the flip side of Peter Watts going like, yeah, no, like, listen to your fucking like lizard brain, you idiot, right? It's because like like him and is his intellectualizing is like how he manages to like colossally sabotage himself at this like final opportunity to like make that connection even a little bit. And
Yeah.
he's like, and like he wants to, right? Like there is like he's not like going like, ah, yeah, no, just an old flame, that's just what my brain wants. No, no, he goes like, this is a terrible situation. I have to perfectly research how to react to this. Instead of, and so he just like runs out the clock.
Yeah. No, I think like this is the other part where like on some, I don't know if Dewatch does this intentionally, but I feel like the sort of like sci-fi exaggeration here is not that the problem is with consciousness. The problem is with over intellectualizing. It's
Yeah.
with and like even more basic, it's with overthinking. Right?
Mm.
Like it's just being like sometimes you have to act. Right? Like
Yeah.
I think that's the core of this story. It's like sometimes you have to trust things without analyzing them forever.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's a tracked against analysis paralysis.
yeah, I think that is like there's a lot in this book. But I do think like if you are like going to take something away from it, like I think there is just like a very like strong, and I do think like this just like extremely holds up, like element of this book that's like um that is making the case that like no, like your conscious brain is not the smartest part of you, right? And I think that that is also an absolutely fucking fascinating idea. And
Yeah.
I think I am convinced of that one.
I would tend to agree. Like there's also just an element where like even if you don't believe, like even if you want to believe that like the conscious part of your brain, that the highest bit in the neural system is the best, is like the smartest part,
Yeah.
it's not the only part, right? Like
Mm.
this is one of those things where it's like I guess like when I was thinking about doing this podcast episode, I felt like Cartesian dualism was going to come up, and like one of those things is that like I feel like we've gotten to the point where we've kind of proven that like you can't just think mind body, like
Yeah.
the even beyond your fucking like neocortex, you have to integrate the brainstem. You have to integrate like all of the different like ganglia in your body, all the different like hormones and other things that affect who you are.
Mm.
Like there is no point where you can just say, "Oh, it's just this bit. It's just the frontal lobe that's you," because that's denial. That's complete
Yeah.
and utter denial, which is the main tool of our protagonist.
Yeah, and like to be clear, like on like an extremely like professionally salient level, like Siri Keaton knows this. Like Siri Keaton is like, no, I don't do my job myself. I
Yeah.
just like let my hind brain, like the weird like conjuncture of like a robot brain and like a human brain have, like work shit out. And then I'm like, yeah, I know the words to say and I don't like know why I know them, but I do. And like he knows this. He knows that he's not the smart one like in there.
I
But he's like, oh no, I'm gonna keep sabotaging
Well,
actually.
I think this is also like another part in a long running like thesis of mine. This idea that like awareness is not solution.
Yeah.
You know, because there's multiple points in the book where he goes like, to make sure I do my like observations correctly, I need to distance myself. Anyway, like, how are you, friend? What's up with you? What are you
Yeah.
doing? Like back to back sentences of this. Like you can't just say shouldn't do this and then do it and then be like I'm good because I said I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like it's
No.
lampshading, right?
Yeah, no, which I do think like I'm generally um quite opposed to the unreliable narrator because I think it's so fucking annoying. Like just like as a tool.
Uh-huh.
Like um like the problem with an unreliable narrator is that you first need to make me care, and it's quite a lot more difficult if your narrator is someone who is like, yes, anyway. Of
But
course
he's
you can trust me. But in this book, like it is like so like lampshaded and flagged. Like
because it's not like because a lot of unreliable narrators are like, you know, the last 300 pages complete bullshit. I was actually dreaming all along. Like this is like, and then I left the room without shooting him, and then the bullet entered his body, and he
yeah,
was dead. And just like those two sentences back to back, right? Like
yeah,
that's what's happening here. Is I didn't do the thing describes myself doing the thing.
yeah, no,
It's very good.
I would never get in the way of the smart part of my brain working things out. immediately like fucks shit up again. Like it's a like Siri Keaton in a way like is such a like, despite him going like, oh yeah, no, I'm not like quite human in the way everyone else, like what, like such a like human protagonist,
I feel
like a
like
fucking Greek tragedy just walking around.
I feel like it's the first book I've ever read where like they go through every step of the denial, you know? Like it's I'm not gonna do this. Anyway, paragraph of rationalization, and then I do the thing. You know, like it's really good. Like I'm just like, yeah, you know, that checks out. That seems like a thing Sarah Keaton would do. And like that's the thing I think that really strikes me is like how well the like romance subplot just illustrates how fucking stupid this guy is. But just like how well it ties into that like broader concept of like awareness and consciousness.
Yeah.
Like it's just extremely well done. You know, like there's a lot of like subplots out there that are like, oh, like tangentially abstractly. Like, no, this is like, if you didn't get it, Siri Keaton is
a fucking idiot.
I was gonna say masterful wielder of denial, but like it's more like he's very strong at denial. He's not particularly
a very
artful.
blunt wielder of denial.
And it's just like, yeah, here's the explanation.
Now, there is an interesting meta layer to this, because as insinuated earlier, Siri Keaton is the like diegetic narrator of all of this, because this whole book is like after like the rest of the thesis like gets into the really deep shit and goes like, you know what, we're just gonna blow like the fuel tank and this alien thing and hope that solves the situation for now, and but we have enough to like jettison Siri Keaton and only Siri Keaton. And so Siri Keaton is just going like, anyway, here's why I'm an idiot, like transmitting that to Earth.
You know, we were
so like Siri Keaton does come around.
Yeah. Just before we started this episode, we were like, we have no idea how to do the content warnings, so we looked up this website, and interestingly, like, we didn't find the content warnings at all. No. We had to do that from base, from scratch. But we did find like these little like indicators of like, oh, how much is this book plot versus character driven? And there's one of those was like, how much of this is focused on character development? And in a weird way, like, I didn't think about it at first, but that is, like, the entire point, it turns out, as narrated by, like, the ship's AI captain, is to be like, we had to take you and make you less dumb so you could, like, pitch the case when you get back to Earth. Like, we had to pick you up, little idiot child, and tell you, get the fuck over yourself. You're gonna have to argue that the Mongols are coming.
Yeah. No, and... like, they are just, like, chess moving on Siri Keaton, just, like, to teach him, like, one concept.
So, I would like to end this episode with... men would literally go to space to find the cosmic intelligence
or rather, intelligence, ?
Before going to therapy. Thank you.
But, you know, if you can get, like, a vampire AI tag team to do your therapy, you know, they'll mindfuck you, but they'll fix you.
They will also mutilate you physically.
Just a bit.
Which, like, it's up to you. Like, mindfucking, you know, that might just happen in therapy. If you're weird enough. And Siri Keaton is weird enough.
Now, I think to close out on, we've spoken a lot about Siri Keaton, but... like, this book has, like, a wonderful cast of characters.
It does.
Do we just, like, want to talk about them for a minute?
I don't know if I have that strong feelings on the others.
Interesting. Because, like, I think my favorite does end up being, like, the vampire.
The vampire is very good, actually. Yeah.
Right, like, because... we are experiencing the vampire specifically through Siri Keaton's lens. And all Siri Keaton can go like, this is the scariest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, and the vampire's just like, hello, how are you doing? Like, the vampire at no point does anything to suggest that he is not like on board with the mission and doing his absolute fucking best
There's the point where he does mutilate Sarah Keaton.
productively, but yeah, no, that's kind of fun.
It's also the part where, like, I think his final scene is basically him going, like, sorry I did that. I promised there was a purpose to it. Like, genuinely displaying very real empathy about it. And, like, yeah, like, it shows that, like, he's just kind of like a dude on some level. Like, he's weird, but, like, there's still just dude beneath that, right? But yeah, like, there's that part where, like, you know, all of these people are weird. That's
Yeah,
how you get on the ship.
yeah, no, like I think like Yakazarasti, like the vampire, is like the most like clean foil to Siri Keaton because like I think it's a he, right?
Yeah,
Um, is like the most like genuinely like inhuman of the crew,
yeah.
on account of not being human. Um,
Nice.
and but like just kind of get it, right? And like is fully in tune with like, oh yeah, no, like obviously consciousness like kind of a speed bump. Just like fully like in keeping and just fully balanced and like all Siri Keaton can see is like predator, predator, predator.
Yeah, there's the part where like Sarah Keaton is like, "Oh, like this bed's trying to eat me," and Jokas is like, "Please, I just want to like order where it when this. Can you be chill for a bit?"
Yeah, no, and like I wonder if like to briefly indulge in the sin of speculation. I
Uh,
wonder if like Siri Keaton like had just at one fucking point turned this stupid intellectualizing to going like, like I'm just gonna like take all this like prey animal fear and like put it in a box and like analyze this person for like someone who's trying to be a good captain in the hardest situation there has ever been as far as we can tell, and just go like, man, you're doing a really good job.
I will say I do think
Tell me.
there's something here that like I don't know if it's perfectly well connected with like the idea of consciousness or self awareness, but there is like kind of like an underlying theme here of like Sarah Keaton's fear, and like he's not the only one who's scared
Hmm.
of the vampire, but like it is fundamentally fueled by like this guy way smarter than me. He could do anything,
Yeah,
and that's also their attitude towards the alien
yeah,
on some level, right? Like that's a fundamental idea of like just because I am disadvantaged here, he must be evil.
yeah,
Like it's kind of an interesting right because like as you say, like yeah, the vampire is weird. He's a bit creepy, but like he's just being like, I think we should do these things to like make sense of the situation.
yeah. No, like, um, I forget like what the religious like term is, but like there is just like Siri Keaton just like starts out like hard lying and like I want to say like mouthiest, going like, oh yeah, no, like anything like I cannot understand, evil, fucking hunter, evil shit cloud.
It is in a way like a very typical like the unknown scares us.
Yeah,
And like obviously like someone who thinks on like a higher level than you do is just fundamentally unknown.
yeah,
It's cute. But it is
um,
also like another Siri Keaton being a dumbass.
yeah,
I also like I don't know, like I think this is going out too much on a limb, but I also like wonder if this is kind of like the thing that like he also does in his romantic relationship where it's like, oh, like I'm just gonna assume that like she's crying because she's trying to manipulate me, right? Like it's not like I'm feeling things. These are unknown to me. She must be doing something to me. Right,
yeah,
like it's this strange fear. I think this is where actual like incel
mm,
kind of comes from, right? Like it's this just pathological fear of manipulation because something affects you.
yeah. Like I think there is just like this other angle to the book where it's like not just like suspicious of consciousness, but like specifically like maybe even more suspicious of just like consciousness as like a cynical like actor, just going like, oh yeah, no, like everything the hindbrain is telling me to like fear, just going to pass that through without any muster. um Everything the hindbrain is telling me that um you know might make me feel other things, feel positive things, probably bullshit.
It's just justifying depression. Like genuinely, like that's the thing, right? It's like we're engaging the self like I think this is kind of like my final point about this book is that like consciousness is a tool.
Yeah.
And Siri Keaton is an extremely poor user of that tool.
Yeah.
But like fundamentally, like you can be like, "Ooh, I really don't like this person," and here's you can use the tool either to be like, "Why is that?" or you can use the tool to be like, "Let me explain why."
Yeah.
Let me find something.
Yeah.
It's actually because something TikTok body language analysis.
Yeah, like, to maybe like, I guess we can't just go over all the characters, but like Spindle, what a lovely fella.
It's just a nice
Uh,
dude.
and Susan James, like, wonderful.
I love the idea of having another personality to come out to yell at people and then be like, "That wasn't me."
Like Susan James is genuinely fascinating because she's just like, nah, be definitely multiple personalities, and I'm going to make that true. Like, I like a while ago like read a paper on someone was like, hey, I should. I'm a psychologist. I'm looking into what's going on with these plural people and going like, well, here's what they're saying anyway. I wonder if that's um, like directly accurate to like how their brains actually work. Susan James goes like, gonna science didn't work out. Gonna take like a fucking like scalpel to my brain to make that the case. Um so like real committed and also clearly like like just like very sympathetic on account of being quite smart and capable.
Yeah.
There is just like a beautiful section because Susan James by training is the linguist.
Yeah.
Where Siri Keaton goes like, well, obviously, like because these are like all turbo weirdos. These people like do not speak comprehensively, so I'm rendering it comprehensive. I am not changing anything about Susan James's words. She can speak for herself. Like,
That is a
just
good bit.
like that is clearly just like Peter Watts like bravely like peeking through like, hey, doing a cool thing here, and I'm like, I'll take it.
Linguists, respectable. Biologists, dumb as hell. Military personnel, dumb as hell. Also, I found another nitpick. They mention multiple personality disorder in the book. It's already renamed to dissociative identity disorder
Oh.
by the time this book was written.
Yeah.
In fact, it was written, apparently renamed that before we were born.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. We've learned something today.
Um, but yeah, so to close out a bit more, because like there like this is a book that um like does like despite like or rather by way of speaking about aliens, does talk about like what it means to be human in some like in the ways that only like a like slightly obsessive biologist can.
Yeah.
Um and I want to tell you a brief story because I I we podcasted a bit late because I slept in. I slept in because um I've been starting to do this thing where I just like wake up after like sleeping for 1 hour. Um and like I mostly don't. It's fine. Um but like I think there is just like a very like quite direct connection to Blindsight. To me, like thinking about that and going like, yeah, must be some faulty wiring, right? There is just um, yes, Siri Keaton is full of shit and using all of these like phenomenal like advances in science like for the one and only purpose of denial of whatever like is making him feel things at the moment. But like there is just like a sensibility like towards like the human condition in this book as like a uh system that like must be comprehensible and like must be like purely biological. um and like has uh extremely significant elements like outside like the reach of like consciousness, um that does just like uh I think like prompt you somewhat to like rethink your relationship to yourself as like maybe a slightly more, at least if you take something good from this book, maybe a slightly more stewardly one rather than like a sort of like I am the ego and only I am me, right? But like, like more like as a ship on the ocean of self. um so like on the one hand I'm going like, yeah, no, must be some weird wiring. On the other hand, I go like, maybe I shouldn't play video games past my bedtime instead of, having like a calm read before going to bed. And
Wow,
I
what
think,
a cool final message.
yeah, no, and I think like just integrating like those do like seemingly at odds, but I think like both we agree, and I think maybe Peter Watts also agrees, not actually at odds, sensibilities of going like, yeah, no, like obviously like we're like far more out of our own control than we are in it to a large degree, but at the same time like, like consciousness like can get in a way or it can help.
Yeah, there are
um
breaks you can put on processes.
and yeah, I think it has genuinely just like oddly like rewired me a bit to go like, yeah, no, like um I think it does like prompt you to like think about your relationship to yourself as like maybe something that's a bit more, caring.
Yeah, a bit more holistic in a way.
Yeah.
Cool. Then let me finish off today's episode by saying that I'm pretty sure consciousness is caused by string theory. Thank you.
That's right, it's quantum.
Music.
Parody.
And we'll be back next week with Burning Chrome, which
That's
is
right.
also caused by string theory.
I think that would just sort of fly in with William Gibson.
Yeah, that checks out.
Thank
you for your
listening.
time. And we'll see you next week.
On the other side.
Huzzah!